Hello. This is Coach Tonya, your girl from the Trauma Recovery Room. This episode is going to be about 4 ways to beat negative self talk. So, for those of you who do not know me, I'll just briefly go into who I am and where the Trauma Recovery Room came from. You know my story. Well, if you don't, I grew up in a toxic childhood. Parents were very toxic, abusive towards each other, not physically, but all other ways. I grew up believing that that was the way to live. In my journey of finding out that it's not, because my subconscious mind started talking to me after repetitively repeating toxic relationships myself, with my last one being the most toxic of all that I've ever seen in my life or ever heard of at that particular point, even though now, since going through it and getting out of it, I've heard worse. But on my journey of discovering how to fix this man who was not treating me right, I learned why that was so. And I learned that by learning that I wasn't treating myself right. So the expectations that I had for him, I then learned to turn them toward myself. And from all of that, I started learning about narcissism and, practicing self love and doing my inner child healing. And then I started to do it with other people and saw that it was working. And therefore, I created the Trauma Recovery Room. So, if you are listening to this video, I don't know what program you're listening to because I use my videos in different places, but I can definitely probably say that you have scheduled your 30-minute talk time with me where you're ready to go over uh, 4 ways personally, where we're going to talk one on one, but 4 ways where we can come up with creative ideas or situations for you to 4 ways to beat negative self-talk. So if you're not here for the one-on-one coaching and that's not what you've ordered this video for, what you have it in your package for, then definitely know that if you already have not taken advantage of your call with me to talk about this, then you can definitely book yourself a call and we can go ahead and discuss it so you can personalize your journey on how to beat negative self-talk. So the first thing we're going to talk about, and I actually have 4 things, but they're going to be broken down in not 2 different ways, but it's 2 different slides you'll see. And they'll jump back and forth, so you'll see what I'm talking about. So the 4 ways to beat negative self-talk is 1, repeat out loud what is said. Is it true? And I'm going to go through these 4, and then I'm going to do a little brief talking, and then we're going to double back and go back on them. Number 2, replace it with the complete opposite. Number 3, use second person. Instead of I am stupid, use she is stupid. Number 4, ignore it. Don't feed into the energy of it. So what I want to talk about in this particular video is how negative self-talk, what it does to you and how you can change from doing it. What it does to you and how you can go and change from doing it. Excuse me, I'm distracted. So within learning that negative self-talk destroys your self-esteem, it ruins your self-confidence, it definitely takes away your self-efficacy, your self-reliance, your self-compassion, and your self-love. It keeps you stuck in that mental cage that you've locked yourself in. Each time you say something negative about yourself, you tighten the grip of the lock even more. You set yourself free by releasing that tight grip and shutting down that voice or taming it. And I'm going to give you 4 ways to do it. So those 4 ways that I talked about. Before we talk about those 4 ways, I just want to briefly mention these 4 tactics to help you to accomplish the 4 ways. So number 1, you're going to acknowledge what your mind says about you. Number 2, you're going to look for evidence of it being true. Number 3, you're going to look for evidence of it being false. And number 4, you're going to compare the two, which one is reality about you. Which one is a reality about you? So the reason I showed that screen was because there's a process to doing each one of these things. And this one that I'm showing now, they acknowledge what your mind says, look for evidence of it being true or false, and compare the two. That is pertaining to individual situations where you have to do the act at that very moment. The other one that I'm showing you right now is more so when you're doing overall just everyday routine practice or rehearsal or just living it out, walking it out every day. That's what this one is for. So we're going to talk. I'm going to talk from both perspectives, but you'll see what I'm saying. So again, each time you say something negative towards yourself, you are tightening that grip of emotional strain. You are tightening that grip of less love for yourself, less esteem for yourself, less confidence for yourself. You're feeding that negative energy, which is then going into the universe, and it's being recreated or regenerated back to you in the form of ways where you may not like it. So the four ways are: one, repeat out loud what is said. Is it true? So stop yourself and repeat out loud the thought that comes to your mind. What is it saying? Do you agree with it, and why? Allow your brain, your ears and your eyes and other senses to be able to feel that energy of what it's saying. And then think about it, whether it's true or not. Is it real, or is it just fronting on you? Is that thought real? Is it really true about you? Is it really true about you? Or is it just a fabricated thought that stems from somewhere that uh, may have misled you or fed you the wrong spiritual, emotional information about yourself? So stop yourself and repeat out loud what the thought is. And when it comes to mind, ask yourself, is it real, or is it just fronting on you? Number two, replace it with the complete opposite. Stop yourself. Replace it with the complete opposite of what you're thinking. Give the brain something else to start comparing the old information with. So, what could be the best thing that you can think of instead? Stopping those crazy ass thoughts is under your power, it's under your ability, and it's under your control. So, what are you going to do? Bring some neutrality to the situation, make it neutral. So, the extreme of the original negative thought was at one extreme, which is probably the absolute worst. And then you're going to take it to the complete opposite, which is the absolute fabricated best, although it could be real. And then you're going to look at those two and bring some neutral balance to it. Take what is real from both situations and allow yourself to freely explore whatever it is that's coming up, but acknowledge truth for where it is. Number three, you want to replace the negative self-talk with using second person. So instead of saying I am stupid, you would say that she is stupid. And the reason you're doing that is because you're removing the personalization of the thought. So you're giving your brain another opportunity to see that, whoa, okay, well, if she's doing it, then this might not be so bad. Something may be wrong with something on the outside of the person, or that I'm not the only one, which means I'm not terrible. You reconstruct the ability for your brain to think differently because you're giving it something to compare to. And you've depersonalized the talk. So you can also give that talk a name. Give that talk a name so you can say, oh, Sheila, she's so stupid. Mm, she always do these things. And then you depersonalize it. You allow your mind to see that others make mistakes too, and that there's nothing wrong with whatever it is that you're going through. You're taking it to, you'll get to see that you're taking it to a farther extreme. And number four, ignore it. Don't feed into it. Keep doing what you're doing. And when it gets louder, drown it out with more of what you're doing. So if those feelings of negative self-talk are telling you to be angry with yourself about a situation, go listen to some classical music. Go listen to some meditation music. Go look at a comedy. If the anger is what it's being pushed to you, that negative self-talk, then do something that makes you happy. Allow the shift in your mind to have other options to click in. And when you do a drastic change from one source of energy to the next, your brain pretty much is shocked and it's looking for something to rationalize the situation. So again, if you go off of these four tips, the way to do those other four individually is when a thought pops up in your mind, own it, give it a name, allow it to be free, and allow it to have its place in your life. Don't take it away. And with the other one, I said by ignoring it, that's after you've learned to do these steps. You're ignoring it, not acting as if it's not happening, but you're ignoring it by not giving it that energy. You're feeding other sources of energy. So you still have thoughts that are related to that particular situation, but you're going to ignore the negative ones and you're going to replace them with positives. This one, give it a name, acknowledge what it says. Don't ignore the thoughts that are nagging you, that are just consistently wearing you down. Those have feelings and they have emotions, and give them that. Acknowledge them. Let them breathe. Let them have life. So that way they won't feel choked and they won't choke you spiritually. Therefore, you'll be releasing that energy. And then when they do pop up, in the future, you can remind yourself of the good things and then you can ignore them. Number two, look for evidence of it being true. So when you're faced with a negative self talk, look for some evidence to see if it's true. See if it's true. I mean, it might be true. It actually might be true. And even if it is true, you still don't give life to it by dwelling on it. You take action and you do things to change it. So after you look for evidence of it being true, then you want to look for evidence of it being false. And then after that, you're going to compare the two to see which one is real about you. So in your process of learning to ignore it, to give it a name, uh, to drown it out with something completely opposite, you're going to find that you're being strengthened in the areas of that negative talk that's going on in your head, because you have to make this a pattern. You have to make it a routine. And when you become consistent with drowning it out with better things, shifting the energy from negative to positive, then you'll find yourself thinking of more positive situations, producing more positive energy, which will ultimately create positive experiences for you. So that's all I have for this particular video. So go ahead and grab your worksheet, fill out the shadow work questions, and then go to the next level or next request of your workshop. So this is your girl, Coach Tonya, and I will see you on the other side.